Welcome back, everyone. I'm pleased again to have Dr. Laurie Mintz joining us. Dr. Mintz is a feminist author, a therapist, a professor, and a speaker whose life's work has been committed to helping people live more authentic, meaningful, and sexually satisfying lives through the art and science of psychology. In addition to her work as a tenured professor at the University of Florida, teaching about the psychology of human sexuality, Dr. Mintz is the author of 2 books written with the aim of empowering women sexually: Becoming Clitorate, Why Orgasm Equality Matters and How to Get It, and A Tired Woman's Guide to Passionate Sex, Reclaim Your Desire and Reignite Your Relationship. Today, Dr. Mintz will be teaching us about causes and solutions to the orgasm gap. Welcome, Dr. Mintz.
Well, thank you. Take 2. For those of you who were here earlier, I was talking into a screen. I couldn't see any faces because of a glitch. It doesn't matter, a setting in Zoom. And I said, any questions? And then it was silent. I was like, any questions? I unminimized my screen and it was like, this Zoom meeting ended half hour ago. It was like, panic. So I'm so glad that you're back, if you're back for a second time. And I'm sorry for the repeat information if so. And if you're here for the first time, then I'm just super glad to meet you. And I'm really excited to talk to you today at this first ever, yay, Shameless Sexuality Conference. I'm going to talk about the orgasm gap. I'll talk about 35 minutes, save 10 for questions, talking about what causes it and how to close it individually and culturally. So let's close it as a culture and in individual bedrooms. So first, let me bring the orgasm gap to light by reading the first page of Becoming Clitorate, which is based on real stories told to me by students. In fact, this is such a real story, a student helped me write it from her own experience. You feel so good. Does that feel good, baby? No, not really, you think. Oh, yeah, you reply. You roll your eyes because thankfully in doggy style, he can't see your face. You're so ready for it to be over. He grunts enthusiastically, breathing hard. You sense he's about to come, so you start breathing and moaning too. Yes, harder, deeper, you scream in order to hurry him to climax. He finally finishes and asks, did you come too? Yes, it was amazing. You lie. Can you relate? Sadly, most women can. Here's the deal. There's a huge pleasure gap between women and men. Men are having way more orgasms than women are. And while this is true in all types of sex, it's especially true in casual sex. So that's the way the book opens. But let me talk more scientifically for a minute. The orgasm gap is the finding across multiple studies that when cisgender women, people born with a vulva who identify as a woman, get it on with cisgender men, people born with a penis who identify as a man, the men are having way more orgasms than the women are. Before getting into the statistics, this makes me want to underscore a few caveats. As I'm sure you're mostly aware, not everyone is heterosexual, and not everyone identifies with the sex that they're assigned at birth. Some people are born with a vagina and identify as a woman, cisgender that's called. Some people don't identify with the sex they're assigned at birth. They're born with a vagina, but they identify as a man or gender nonconforming. So this presentation is mostly going to focus on cisgender men or women that are having casual or relationship sex with cisgender men. I'm not trying to ignore trans and non-gender conforming folks. It's just that this is where the research is, and I'm not trying to ignore lesbian sexual relationships, the problems in heterosexual sex, which I think pretty soon, hopefully, you will know why. Also, this topic, we're going to talk about orgasm disparity. So I'm really talking to women. My polls are for women. I'm not trying to exclude men. I think you'll still get a lot out of it. And in fact, even in my book, at the end, I have a chapter written for cisgender men, and research shows that men who read it become more versed with women's pleasure, better sexual communicators, etc. All right, now let's get into the content. So the orgasm gap, a few striking statistics. For those sex nerds like me, I put the actual citations. In one study, 91% of men versus 39% of women said they usually or always orgasm during partner sex. Now, that study didn't ask about the type of sex, but in studies I've conducted, 59% of men versus 10% of women report always experiencing orgasm during first-time hookup sex. And it gets smaller in relationship sex, 85 versus 68, but it never closes all together. Now, some people say this is because women's orgasms are difficult or elusive, but two other gaps make it clear this is definitely not the case. First, women are much more likely to orgasm when having sex with a woman than a man. In a study that just blows my mind, it was a small sample, but it was bisexual women, so same woman, same body, and they had what were called one-night stands or hookups with women or men. They said they orgasmed 64% of the time when their partner was a woman versus 7% when a man. So that tells us there's something going on in heterosexual sex. Also, women are much more likely to be nearly or always orgasmic when alone than with a partner. We know that 95% of women orgasm easily and within minutes when they are alone. And we also know that 99% of women stimulate themselves externally when alone. So that tells us, right, the reason that sex between two women and masturbation are more orgasmic, they focus on clitoral stimulation. Penetration's added if it enhances, but everything's not revolved all around penetration. But in heterosexual sex, that's what we do. Foreplay, just to get it ready for intercourse, male orgasm, sex over. And in this way of thinking, what researchers call a cultural script for sex, the man is responsible for a woman's orgasm to give her one by thrusting hard and lasting long. So this tells us that the idea that women should orgasm from intercourse alone is the number one lie women are told about getting laid. It's the primary reason for the pleasure gap. We also know that women fake orgasm, and a lot of times they fake during intercourse. Before I tell you the stats on how many women fake orgasm according to the research, I thought I would ask the women in this room. And so could you please launch the poll, Heather, about faking orgasms?
The poll has been launched. I'll leave it over for a few minutes, a few seconds, I should say, just to get a good response.
And this is for women only, please.
Just leave it open for a few more seconds if anybody else wants to ring in. Great. I'll close the poll and share the results. Results are showing 50-50.
Okay. Although I'm noticing that that's only a sample of 4 people. So
yes, correct.
Yeah. So that might not be representative, but I sure appreciate those 4 who bravely shared. Well, what does the actual research show? Oops, sorry, wrong click. It shows that 70% of women say they faked orgasm at least one time, often more. And when women are asked why they fake, they say, I don't want to seem like I'm not normal, not orgasming during intercourse, or I want to protect my partner's ego. So sadly, more than one young woman has told me, I thought my vagina was broken. This young woman's vagina is not broken, but our culture is broken. When it comes to women's pleasure, it's a culture that overvalues men's most reliable route to orgasm and devalues women's. And in order to grasp this problem, we need to take a little bit of a deep dive, no pun intended, into women's most reliable route to orgasm. We need to see how many women orgasm from intercourse alone. You might have heard the statistic that only 25% of women can orgasm alone, from intercourse alone. Now, that statistic's been around a long time, and it came from old studies saying, do you orgasm during intercourse? But they never asked the women, do you do so without or with getting your clitoris stimulated by rubbing it against a body part, touching it? When this differentiation has been made in recent studies, about 15 to 18% of women say they can orgasm from a thrusting penis alone. However, I've conducted research with which I think is a much more neutral question, which is doesn't even mention intercourse, but is part of the question only as one of the answers. And I ask my research participants, what is your most reliable route to orgasm with a partner? So before I show my results again, I want to see what you have to say. So Heather, would you please share that poll again? Thank you.
The poll has been launched, and we'll just give a few seconds for everybody to put in their response. It is anonymous, so feel free to be honest.
So your results were very similar. And here's something that a lot of women tell me that I've never seen in the literature before, but it's really important. Those women who say direct clitoral stimulation alone often tell me, I can't orgasm with something inside. It's distracting. And so yet we still have this orgasm hierarchy. Like, it's better if it's intercourse alone. Then, okay, if it's intercourse plus direct clitoral stimulation, and then direct alone. That's like, this hierarchy is just terrible. And so despite this, though, despite this hierarchy, we definitely, you want to hear something weird? You all just came back on my other computer that I switched to. So now I see myself on 2 different computers. That's crazy, but I'm not going to touch a thing. So despite the importance of the clitoris, women's magazines and men's magazines, they publish these pictures, these articles, the best sex position for her orgasm without even mentioning the clitoris at all. Here's some examples. And the language used in these articles reflect and perpetuate the overvaluing of female pleasure. We use sex and intercourse like they're the same thing. Foreplay, just a lead up to the main event. These articles use these words, and those overvalue men's pleasure because foreplay activities are the ones most likely to bring women to orgasm. And another linguistic issue, we call our entire genitals a vagina, when in actuality, the outside part is the vulva. There's my vulva puppet, which we'll bring out a little bit later as well. We call our entire genitals a vagina, and by doing so, we are calling our genitals by the part most responsive and sexually useful to men versus women ourselves. And along the same lines of language, let's talk about the concept of losing one's virginity, which is so embedded in purity culture. And it implies negative. Something's lost. And it's assumed to be more important for women than for men to be virgins. Also, it relates to penis and vagina sex. So again, it's heteronormative. How does a person who identifies as a lesbian lose their virginity? And in some countries, in understanding this, they started using the term making your sexual debut. Now, while that's still positive, it's still very focused on penis and vagina sex. So my suggestion is, how about we use that term, making your sexual debut, to refer to one's first pleasurable or orgasmic experience with another person. And also in terms of losing one's virginity, I love this quote. I hope you don't find it too strong, but I'm going to share it. Virginity is a social construct designed by men who thought their penises were powerful enough to change a woman's worth. Virginity is a social construct. You don't have to bleed during first-time sex. That's often, the bleeding is usually due to not being lubricated enough. And also the hymen, you cannot tell. Hymens come in all shapes and sizes. You cannot tell if someone is a virgin or not from their hymen. So I've talked a lot about the devaluing of women's pleasure and the ignorance of the clitoris in terms of the pleasure gap, but there's other. Lack of entitlement to sexual pleasure. Studies show women think it's pushy to ask for clitoral stimulation, but yet men don't think it's pushy to ask for penile stimulation. We get mixed cultural messages. There's pressure to have sex. At the same time, there's slut shaming. And I noticed you had a presentation coming up about using the word slut. And I'm not sure if you're all aware of Amber Rose. She does this annual slut walk. And she's got this video called The Walk of No Shame, where it really is a parody about slut shaming. I'd strongly suggest just putting it in Google at some point. We have objectifying media images. They focus on how one looks versus how one feels during sex. And we have a lot of women feeling self-conscious during sexual intimacy. And I guarantee you cannot have an orgasm when you're holding your stomach in. I spent 4 years of college trying. Total waste of time. Doesn't work. You cannot be like thinking about hiding your body and orgasming. And now we're seeing this new genital self-image among women who watch a lot of porn or see porn, and they think that just like men are chosen for porn for big penises, a lot of times women are chosen for having even and petite inner lips. And they even sometimes have a surgery. I'll tell you a little funny story. In my book, Becoming Clitorate, I wrote, truth be told, my vulva profile looks like a tongue with its face sticking out, a face with the tongue sticking out. And as it was going to press, I woke up in the middle of the night with what could be best described as a panic attack, thinking, oh my God, my daughters are going to read that. My son-in-law's not going to make good for Thanksgiving dinner. I called my editor. I said, please take that line out. She said, no, Laurie, don't do that, because young women need to know this is normal to have one lip bigger than the other sticking out from the outer lips. I said, okay, keep it in, but let's change the graphic language. Let's just change it. I have one of those genital profiles. And then for the next 3 days, every time my very feminist, clitorate, supportive husband would see me around the house, he would go like this, just to make fun of me. And now I tell this story all the time, and it's like, why did I just not keep it in the book? Oh, well. But anyway, we don't have sex ed that teaches us about the labia, and it also, as Peggy Orenstein says, it acts as if the clitoris doesn't exist. We have no training in sexual communication or assertion. So how do we help women orgasm? How do we empower them to orgasm? What are the steps? And I'm going to be speaking, as I said, to women. The first thing is to look under the hood, if you will. Take a drawing like this, and identify the parts. I don't have time to go through all the parts in this short presentation, but if you have questions, I can, and I can use my vulva puppet, or I can use that picture to show you. But we do know some very important parts are the clitoral hood, which is analogous to the foreskin, the inner lips, which is actually analogous to the shaft of the penis, and the clitoral glands, which is so chock full of erectile tissue. Yes, we have erectile tissue that it's very painful for most to touch directly. So then you also need to know it's okay, like I said, if your inner lip is like mine and you're like a face with a tongue sticking out. This is from the book Gynodiversity. These are what normal vulvas look like. Each one is beautiful. Each one is like a snowflake. They're all different, and that is something we often don't see, and so women often think something's wrong with the way they look. So then you need to train the most important sex organ, which is between your ears. I told a client this once, and she said, all this time I've been working on the wrong part of my body. But indeed, the brain is really important. How do you do that? Think about what sort of subconscious negative thoughts you have. Maybe my pleasure is secondary, or pleasure is frivolous. Change that thought. I deserve pleasure. No more slut shaming yourself. And body positivity. Enjoy your body for its capacity to experience pleasure. And yoga really helps. As clinical trials showed, it helped with orgasmic function. Why? Probably because it teaches that focus on where your body is. And that focus is called mindfulness. Mindfulness is putting your mind and your body in the same place. Like that little girl in the picture, she's in the same place. She's just seeing the trees, but her dad, he's not even seeing the trees. He's just thinking about what's in front of him. He's thinking about all he's got to do. And research shows, it's super interesting, the brain state right before orgasm is the same one as deep mindfulness meditation, because you can't be self-monitoring like I was in college and have an orgasm. So you have to learn to be in the moment. And how? You could meditate. That's great. I meditate every morning, but you don't have to. You can learn it in daily life. The next time you brush your teeth, really focus on the feeling in your mouth, the taste. And when your mind wanders, and it will, there she goes, bring her back again. Use your breath to bring it back to your body sensations, and then apply that to sexuality. So the bottom line is to think sex positive thoughts when you're not having a sexual encounter, and turn off your busy brain when you are. And then take matters into your own hands. How? First, learn the health benefits and sexual health benefits of self-pleasure. Decreases stress, enhances vaginal health, gets you to know what you need for your body. Then learn how other women masturbate. I already told you that only 2% put something exclusively in their vagina. Some lay on their stomach, some on their back, stimulate their external area. Some squeeze their legs rhythmically together. Some run water. There's endless ways. And there's some great models of the type of external stimulation. OMG, yes, it even has touch screen technology. And they actually have videos of actual women showing how they have masturbated, and they put words to some of these things. And then do it. Touch yourself. First, warm up to this idea if you're not someone who already has self-pleasure in your life. Touch yourself differently when you're taking a shower. Maybe rub your breast. Get familiar with yourself. Buy some lubricant. Vulvas are not meant to be touched dry. Buy a good water-based, or silicone is my favorite because it's more slippery and long-lasting, or a hybrid which combines water and silicone. And then try common finger positions. A lot of women rub circles on the clitoral hood. A lot of women push their palm against this area, the mons pubis, where the internal clitoris runs through, and rub up and down. Some women put their fingers inside the inner lips and rub up and down, kind of pushing. So many ways. And then just pleasure yourself. Not a goal, not I want to come, I want to come, I want to come, because the goal of coming is going to make it less likely. Just set 30 minutes aside and enjoy yourself. And if you still don't orgasm, maybe try fantasizing. Maybe you can't get mindful. Maybe fantasize. In fantasy, anything goes. Try written or visual erotica. You can put feminist porn in a website. Find some really lovely things. People say, oh, relax, take a bath, have a glass of wine. That works for some, but what research shows is what often works is exercise, because you get the blood flowing, and an orgasm involves the blood flow to the clitoris. Teasing and edging, those are 2 words for OMG, yes. Just as you kind of tease, you don't really touch the areas until you're really excited, or when you're really close to orgasm, edging, you back off. Change positions, type of pressure, add penetration as you're excited, or vibrators. Did you all notice I'm wearing vibrator earrings? I actually couldn't decide which one to wear because I have a blue one, and I thought, well, that matches my outfit better, but I like my purple one, and my purple one even turns on. I don't know if you can hear that sound through the Zoom. I'm also wearing a vulva necklace. I'll point that out. But clitorises have special receptors, and so do the head of the penis, that respond to vibration. And we know many women do not have their first orgasm until they use a vibrator. Now, there's all kinds of myths. They don't replace partners. No, they don't cuddle. They don't kiss. They don't laugh. They just provide the type of stimulation many of us need. They also don't replace partners. Think of it this way. If you were in the swimming pool and you had a raft there and you were on the raft, off the raft, kissing, hugging, you wouldn't call your friend at the end of the day and go, oh, my raft and I had so much fun, and oh, my partner was there too. You wouldn't even mention the raft. It's just a tool to enhance the experience, and the same is true of vibrators. Also, people say, will it desensitize my clit? No, actually, there's some research that it might even enhance the nerve endings. It was a study done with rabbits, which, guess what? They have almost identical clits to women. They used vibrators on the rabbits, and the rabbits grew more nerve endings. Now, what about the idea that you'll always need it? You know what my answer is? So what? The idea that we shouldn't need it it's past its prime. It's done. I mean, and we don't tell men like, oh, don't have intercourse too much, because what if you might get used to that? It's only when it comes to women's orgasms we have these types of conversations, and the research is clear. Women who use vibrators have easier and more frequent orgasms, and a woman's satisfaction is highly correlated with her male partner's acceptance and endorsement of her vibrator use. So now you know how you orgasm alone. Okay, then what do? The most essential step, underutilized advice, get the same type of stimulation that you get alone. You can use a play, like instead of foreplay just to get her ready, intercourse, sex over, take turns. We know lesbian sex is partially more orgasmic because of that. And now I'm including the men in the conversation. So the woman is you, or for a male partner, you or she comes first. So how might that look? Oral sex for her, followed by intercourse for you, or oral sex turn taking. And these are inclusives of lesbian sex as well. You or she comes second. A lot of women still can't get past that entitlement to pleasure thing. They can't relax and have their orgasm till he does. So enough fooling around that intercourse isn't painful. See how deeply ingrained it is? I talk about this all the time. I've given a TED talk on this. I've written a book, and I just slipped up and used the word sex. I mean, this is so deeply ingrained in the fabric of our culture, so deeply ingrained. And I think my error illustrates that. So you or she comes second. So you fool around until penetration isn't painful, because if you have penetration before it is, the vagina is lubricated and the cervix pulls up in the way, it'll hurt. So you fool around, have intercourse, then use a vibrator on yourself. Use your hands, his hands, her hands. If you're a bathtub person, get in the bathtub and have your orgasm, or squeeze your thighs together if you do it that way. Any type of masturbatory way of pleasuring oneself can be transferred with creativity and communication. Or how about only she comes? I had someone write into my Psychology Today blog, and they said, oh, every day Sunday I lay my wife down, I stimulate her. It's just an amazing experience. And people were like, that's weird. 1 billion people wrote in. Well, maybe not 1 billion, but many. And they said, and I said, is that really weird? Because that's what's happening in heterosexual sex. Or you come together during the same act, not the same time. Because we often try for this simultaneous orgasm. First of all, that happens during intercourse, which we now know is unlikely. Second, it's very difficult to be mindful. Like 3, 2, 1, okay, let's orgasm together. That is not going to happen. But if you want to orgasm during intercourse, Use a position like woman on top where you can get your clitoris stimulated, or take your own hand, a vibrator, touch yourself. And here's the other thing, that is no less sex than a partner touching you. And also, many times, what's really fun, the glands of the penis also have those touch receptors for vibrators, so the partner might get some vicarious vibes. And or use a couples vibrator. What is that? The one on the right is the Eva, it's called, by Dame Products. Those little wings tuck under the labia, and the top of it sits on the clitoris, giving lots of stimulation. The other is a cock ring, which is an attached clitoral vibrator. One time I gave all my friends one of those for the holidays, and I was very popular that year. Then talk about it. You have to be able to talk. Replacing faulty beliefs about communication. Sex is too hard to talk about. He should be able to know what I want. No, you must talk about it. And the research is clear. Couples who talk about sex have better sex. Use good general communication skills, I statements, or don't ask questions that aren't questions. The idea of, do you want to have sex? It's never a question, because it often means I do, I hope you do, or I don't, and I hope you don't. Talk about sex outside of the bedroom. Maybe talk to your partner about what you learned today about vibrators. Use something called meta communication. Hey, I want to talk to you about something. I'm a little nervous about it, but I love you, and I want our sex life to be the best I can be. And I went to this workshop, and they said vibrators were like really good for women's orgasms, so I'd like to try one. Talk before sex, help get consent, and discuss what you're going to do. Talk during sex, verbal, yes, you can say, touch me here, there, harder, softer, nonverbal, moan, groan. Talk after sex, how was that for you? How could it made it better? And have a clitorisy chat. Read a book together. Watch OMG Yes together. Talk about the type of clitoral stimulation you need. And before I end, I'm going to, Janice, I'm a little nervous to do anything. I switched computers. Can you make sure I'm sharing my sound before I play this?
Hi, Laurie. We wouldn't be able to control that from this end, so let's give it a try. Do you have the link to it? Maybe we could put it in the chat for people as well.
I don't. Let me see if I can share the sound and see how it goes, okay? Tell me if you can hear it. Here we go. This is a song to wrap up with, and if you want to turn on your cameras and dance, I would love it. Everything in here is accurate.
The clitoris.
We can hear it. Thank you.
The clitoris. The clitoris. It's been a mystery. The clitoris, it's my anatomy. Ooh, the clitoris, much more than you can see. And if you get to know it, you can get to know me. Yeah, in the days of old man's form, on pedestals, but girls, less than ideal, we were not taught to feel. And then into the dark ages, when witch hunts were all the rage, key to see if she's a witch or not lies right between her legs. So if you see the mark of Satan, then you know there's no mistaking. She's been taken by desire, throw her on the fire. Fear inside, Pandora's box opening wide. Ooh, the sinful seed of delight, earthly pleasures hidden far out of sight. The clitoris, it's been a mystery. The clitoris, it's my anatomy. The clitoris, much more than you can see. And if you get to know it, you can get to know me. Yeah, learned men of science, still some would deny it. Anatomies, dissections weren't enough for them to buy it. The few who did uncover it would argue who discovered it. This excavated treasure, the source of woman's pleasure. Then Dr. Freud came along, Did he know what goes on inside that hole? Oh no, 'cause he couldn't see all stimulation happens glitterally. They say I'm frigid and cold and I need to be controlled, that I'm too hot, demented, disordered, hysterical, that I'm crazy or lazy, too mild or wild, and baby, they get to decide what's natural and factual. Even doctors' textbooks, yes, they would forget it. The clit they would omit and really not even regret it. So scientists set out to find out all about this old orgasmic mystery and settle any doubt. In 3D, the clit was mapped architecturally. To the world's surprise, it was found to be 10 times its size. The clitoris, it shouldn't be a mystery. The clitoris, it's my anatomy. The clitoris, much more than you can see. And if you get to know it, you can get to know me. We can come to understand what's the pleasure in our hand. Study up and come with me. The clitoris will be set free.
I hope you loved that song as much as I did. I can tell Janice loved it, so I'm so happy. So in conclusion, before we have questions, the sexual revolution of the 60s made it acceptable for many women, certainly not those raised in purity culture, but for many women to have intercourse before marriage. But it did nothing to assure that those encounters would be equally pleasurable for women and men. So I believe we need a new sexual revolution, because I think for people with clits, the revolution is coming. So I'm going to stop sharing so I can see all of you if you want to, and we can engage with any questions that you have. And I thank you so much for your patience with the glitch. And also from that video, when they said she was found to be 10 times her size, they're referring to the internal clitoris. Uh-oh, can you hear? Okay, thought I froze a minute. I was like, okay. So any questions from anyone? I don't know if you want to put them in the chat or, turn your cameras on, but I'm certainly open to talking about anything.
I know I was really shocked when I found out, I think looking in a textbook at the actual size of the clitoris. That just blew my mind. I truly had no idea. And that was only like just within the last couple years, I think, that I found that out. And it was very surprising.
Yeah, what Rachel Rubin, who is a wonderful feminist urologist, says that the penis is just a big external clitoris, which I love how she turns that around. But the clitoris, it's all made of the same organs as the penis, and the hood and the glands are the only part on the outside. It is a massive internal organ with legs that run through and bulbs that surround the vaginal opening. It is and it has as much, if not more, erectile tissue than the penis.
Wow, that is so amazing. And I'm so grateful for your presentation because I really want to normalize people talking about sex and women and men learning about their bodies and about each other's bodies, and just really becoming more comfortable with the fact that we are sexual beings and pleasure is our birthright. We can pleasure ourselves.
Yes, and pleasure is so important, and women's pleasure has been so devalued, and so hidden. The source of our pleasure, as Dorian was singing, has been so hidden. So I'm so glad to be able to share this information.
Yeah, I don't know. Does anyone have questions? Are there any comments you want to share with us, Heather? Oh, are we actually at time already?
I
Oh
think
my
because of the
gosh.
glitch, because of the
Yes.
glitch.
Well, I'm so thankful that you stuck with it and you were willing to come back and go through your whole session with us, because it was really valuable. It was a
I am
wonderful
so
session.
glad, but I am so sorry for the glitches. But you know what we did? I think it's a good role model for sex, right? We communicated, we tried again, we worked through the problems, and at the end, hopefully everybody had some pleasure and
It
some
was so
fun.
much better this time. Okay. Well,
It's better because we got to know each other better. We
that's the
communicated.
truth.
We worked out the
Yes.
glitches.
Awesome. So I'll invite everyone. You're welcome to come join me in the Shameless Sexuality Cafe. We'll probably only have it open for about half an hour tonight because we are running a little bit late. Dr. Mintz, you're definitely invited if you'd like to join us in there, and anyone else, any speakers, any attendees, do come and join us in the Shameless Cafe. And remember to stop by and check out the exhibit hall, the booths of all our presenters. And otherwise, after the Shameless Cafe, we'll just see you all tomorrow morning. Does that
Thank
sound
you
about right, Heather?
so very much for having
Thanks,
me. And I
Laurie.
just think great conference. Thank you for
All
letting
right.
me be a part of it. I'm going to decline your invitation because it's my bedtime, actually.
Oh.
I'm in a different time zone.
That's right. It's late for you. Well, thanks again, Laurie.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.